It's not a bad idea to kind of be realistic about this stuff because then you don't put that much pressure on yourself. You know, it's complicated. You know, it's like having been in 20 bad relationships. You enter with hope and you leave in despair. After the 20th time, you just say, I don't think I know how to do this. So your 21st date or relationship, you leave a few back doors open because you know it's not going to last. And you can just walk out from the back door very quietly. At least that's something. Come to realize about yourself that you just are not made for relationships for now, at least. Carolyn, I know I missed a lot. Maybe you're good. Filling the blanks. A lot of it is luck. I'm serious. A lot of it is luck. I really think that the ancient Greeks were onto something. Even Rumi, in some way, says that I don't really know how this stuff works. It remains to be, it seems that these things are secrets. The only person who knows how the secret work is gold or something, the Greeks believed in the goddess Fortuna. You wake up one morning and you want your life to work, and the gods up there say, no, we're just going to make you miserable. I don't know how anyone comes to understand it. I don't know how breakthroughs happen. I don't know what makes someone really good in the classroom and someone really bad in the classroom. Despite all the stuff that we do in education, I'm not really quite sure what works. No one has the philosopher's stone. No one knows what the key is, where it is. All I know, Lula, to be honest, is when I YouTube sometimes these teachers sitting in their ridiculous gowns and looking at their audience. The way we see the consciousness and pure consciousness and mind consciousness. I want to break the TV, but then I don't want to spend money on buying another TV. So just change the channel and watch something else. And I realize when I'm too old to be like Roger Federer, then, I become really, really angry. So, it's a great question. I don't know. But you should ask Carolyn why she hasn't yet made beet salad. She has the information. She's never applied it. That's not true.
It's true.
It's not true. No, no. See what's happening. May I, Caroline? I don't. See, the problem with the problem with her line of argument is this.
Not here. See this one.
For many decades.
Talking about me.
Yeah, Carolyn has known herself to be a bad cook. And it's true. I mean, you don't need anyone to tell you. Just taste your own food and say yuck. And so she knows that. I mean, it's not that she's never looked at a recipe book. She has. She's followed the recipe, by the numbers, but it still comes out as like concrete. My apologies, Caroline. And so she says, okay, well, I have this recipe for beet salad. I also know my history with recipes. Nothing ever comes out good. And I think in some ways it's the answer to all of our questions, really. It's not like you're the only person in this room who wants to make some changes to, her life. I'm the same way. That despite knowing some information about ABCD, applying it is very, 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 very difficult. So, as you know, the cost of lumber is very high right now. And so I went to Home Depot and I got 20 2x6x12s. And I thought, I'm going to cut them this size, that size. And I made a mistake. My cut was a bit too big. So I had to cut them again. And it's like money going down the drain. You wasted lumber, you wasted energy, you wasted money. But because I had some extra cash, I just didn't care. If you have resources, you don't mind making mistakes. And that's really the territory of just young people. They have lots of energy. They have lots of hopes and dreams and ambitions. And it keeps them alive. It's really, really good. So going back to Carolyn, what you have is many years of being conditioned that there's a new recipe. I know I've never done well cooking area, so why even try? I'll just keep the recipe and I'll give it to Allison. I'll give it to someone. Maybe they can make it. And I think all of us are held hostage by the things we know about our own self. And that has been conditioned by the past. We've tried, we failed, we tried, we failed. It's difficult to kind of get out of that. It's great that Caroline has come to a place where she says, I have the recipe, I'm just not going to try. She's accepted that. I think that's really, really insightful. It's really wise. It's really an enlightened position that I just know this about myself. I have all the resources. I'm just unable to make it work. Once you accept it, there's a good amount of freedom in that. In some ways, it's like being with an alcoholic or being in a relationship that's somewhat abusive. You are the healthy one, and he or she happens to be the unhealthy one. You keep trying and trying and trying because you love the person. You want to make it work, and you're young, and you're ambitious, and you're all that. And little by little, the river runs dry. You just begin to lose so many good parts of yourself. That one day you wake up, you look yourself in the mirror, you look awful. You look exhausted, you look at your physical life, it's a mess, and you say, I just don't want to do this anymore. And that's a clean cut. You can just pack your stuff and you leave. There was a movie called Freedom Writers. It's supposedly a true story. It's about this woman who goes, it's an inner city high school, and she really does magic with these kids. But she's just not home. And one night she comes home. And I think it's Patrick Dempsey who plays in the movie. He's sitting in the kitchen. She looks to her right, and his suitcases are there. She knows. She says, sorry, I just didn't sign up for this. I know you're great with the kids. great teacher, but I'm just never here. I don't want to be here. And there comes a point where, I mean, the movie, of course, doesn't tell us those things. And I'm sure there have been many, many, many sleepless nights when these people sit and say, and the guy says to her, just cut back a little, just be home more often, cook a little bit, let's go out in the summer. You don't have to spend your entire time with these kids. And I'm sure she said many times, yes, I will do it. But her passion eventually takes over and she stays with the kids and eventually just leaves. And there is no regret. And she's not angry. And he's not angry. He just leaves. You know, it may be that we sit here and I bring up Carolyn and we laugh. It may even make you feel bad. But the truth is, you know, it's kind of like the movie. She's tried. She just knows that when it comes to cooking, she's not all that great. Why even try? Just cook what I think I know how, what, and probably taste relatively okay. I'm not going to try a new dish. There is nothing wrong. And you don't have to put this within the context of religious traditions. I think the desire for change is just difficult, period. You know, the kids tonight. I feel sorry for Alexis. She has to train them. Um, you know, the kids tonight. How do you make them change? So next time we have guests, they could kind of be a bit more respectful. There's only one way. You have to hit them. Yeah, you have to hit them. That next time we have people over, the moment they want to, just jump on people and beat them up, they go back in time and say, "Well, the last time I did that, I got slapped and I got kicked and I got punched. I should just stay in my seat." That's you create change through sacrifice. For me, as a father, spanking the kids is difficult for me. I will do it. I will make that sacrifice for myself, for the kids, for the guests, for their future. It's painful. And there's also, especially this day and age, the idea that if I was to spank them really hard, which I will, is there a possibility that they may end up in therapist's office 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now? The way things are going, there's every chance. Do I want to be responsible for that? Yeah. And listen, can you open the blinds? Just a little. That's good. Thank you. What do you think, Alison? Diana, anything we should talk about? There was this, there is this organization. It's founded in Karaj. You've been to Karaj? It's not that great. It goes all the way back to this guy who was given Muhammad's cloak. I forget his name. Anyways, Hussein's teacher, his name was Muhammad Sadiq Anga. He has a poem. رنج بردیم به 30 سال بسی طالب عشق ندیدیم کسی بهتر آن است کناری گیریم در دل خویش قراری گیریم بهتر آن است که بجویم ز کسی همدمی هم نفسی. That for 30 years we lived with sorrow. 30 years we lived with sorrow in hopes of finding someone who could be taught the art of love. In the end, you realize there is no one. So perhaps it's best for me to seek seclusion, to be far removed from people, from the world. And maybe I should just seek my own companionship. I think the troubling part of your question is for me, if change is so difficult, what really is the function of talking about these things, reading about these things, where ultimately we are pushed back to our own history, to our own incompetence to some extent. Why do anything? Yeah, there was a Karate Kid movie with Jackie Chan and what's that guy's name? Will Smith's son. Jaden or Maiden or something. You know, Jackie Chan had lost his family, car crash or something, and he just did not teach martial arts for many, many, many years. He also saw this kid getting beaten up by younger kids. And when this kid asked him if he could teach him, he said no. And he begged and he begged and he begged and he begged until something about Jackie Chan just cracked open. He began to take care of this kid and taught him martial arts. I think in the end, what usually happens is most people become just like Diogenes. They go somewhere, they live all alone. It's kind of like, what's his name? Something Merrill Wolf. Do you remember his name, Kevin? He was a mathematician. He was a genius. He also had some very profound experiences. And he tried to communicate those experiences to other people, but he was very, very disappointed that not only did he not have the language to express his experiences, but however little he was able to, other people were far too deaf to really understand him. So he just left. And he built himself a cabin in the woods somewhere. And there was no forward address to him. And so apparently, and he wrote this book called Consciousness Without Its Object or something. I forget, but there were these people, these two kids who had read his book and they were very, very inspired, but they couldn't figure out where this man lives. And so they contacted the publisher, and the publisher contacted Franklin Merrill Wolf, that was his name. And what Wolf told the publisher to tell these kids is that I live in Oakland, for example, but he didn't give any address. And he said to the publisher told these kids, I live in Oakland. Should they find my door, they find it open. Oakland is a big place, and you have to have a very, very intense desire to comb through Oakland to find a single house where Franklin lives. And eventually they found him. You know? That's a good book to me. Brian, what do you think? Do you have anything? Go ahead, it's okay. You probably read more Persian literature than I have. So, of your readings, do you have any insights about the last question? You watch Remember the Titans? Or you should watch the movie. You'll find your answer. It's a true story, but it's there. You know, it's the segregation era. The whites and blacks don't really mingle. And for some political reason, the head coach of this football team, who happened to be white, is removed. He becomes the assistant coach. The new coach is a black guy, Denzel Washington. How the hell do you change? The way someone perceives another. How do you remove the history? How do you... It's not just like you repress someone's emotion. It's like there comes a point where the captain who gets in a car crash and is paralyzed calls his friend who happens to be black, like a brother. That's how change happens. It's an amazing story because Denzel happens to be a really, really good coach, very insightful. He wakes them up at 3 a.m. and he doesn't give them a break until they get the play right. There is no light, so they turn the car headlights on. And he is relentless. That's how change can happen. You can find yourself in a community where someone just keeps pouncing at you whenever they see you doing something wrong, whether physically or emotionally. And you only really have two options. You either just leave, you feel insulted, offended, you just leave, or like these kids, football is your passion. That's the only thing you know in life. But the truth is, that's not going to be the case for us. There are so many distractions. You have a job, you do this, and you have to do that. So, I suppose good luck to all of us. About 30 years ago, my father was reading the Quran in the living room, and I was sitting listening, but I was so angry because I didn't know how to make these ideas come to life. So at what point, he put the Quran down to get himself a cup of water or tea. And I just went and sat on the Quran. Yeah, I did. It wasn't a book that inspired me. It was a book that, inspired a good amount of anger and hatred. It's like, your father, Amir, for example, you have stage 4 cancer. And he sees you in the kitchen making food. And first he assumes that you're making food for yourself. And then you put some food on the plate and you go to his bedside and say, "Dad, eat it." He looks at you and says, "What the hell is wrong with you? First, can't taste food. Whatever I taste tastes like metal. I can't really eat anything. I throw up. I feel sick." Here's the Quran. Here's diamonds of Plato. Here's Rumi. You have all these great ideas. And ideas are just there to help you see things differently and be different. And you try and you try and you try and you fail. This is not a book that inspires hope. It's basically best to just not read them.